welcome to lesson 72. This is about area. Now, I know you have learned about area before, and we have done perimeter. So perimeter and area do not want us to get confused about. Perimeter, told you a way to remember, is that you can do perimeter. That's the measurement all the way around a polygon or a figure. The perimeter, yes, it is a measurement all the way around a polygon. So now that we have area, area is going to be everything inside. So it is the amount of surface that you have in a shape, and we're only going to be doing rectangles and squares for now to keep it pretty simple, because there you can find the area of many different shapes. And there's different formulas for different ones, so we're going to stick with squares and rectangles because it will be the same way to find the area with each, or same step and process. So area, again, is the amount of surface. So if I have this rectangle, it's everything, the amount of surface that I have. Usually you can think of it like within our classroom, the carpet on the floor is an excellent example of the area. It's not the length of something. I'm not trying to find the length of one wall. I'm trying to find everything, every part of the floor and the measurement of that. So example 1, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this. It says, in a classroom, the floor was covered with 1 foot square tiles. Usually whenever you have tiles, the tiles will be a square, and usually they'll be about 1 foot long or whatever it is, but they will be most of the time squares. So this helps us in being able to also label this correctly, because there's going to be a different way to label area that is very important to remember. So if I have 30 tiles going, or as my length, because the length is the longest side of your rectangle, and then I have 25 tiles as the width, then I'm going to actually multiply, because I'd have 30 going across, and then I'd have 25 going up and down. So I'm going to actually just multiply these two numbers. I'm going to have 25 times 30. Bring down my 0. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So 750 tiles would be my answer. However, it's asking how many square tiles, because if you think about area, imagine just drawing how many squares would you have in every single part, or in the whole area of your shape of the rectangle or square. How many squares would you have all inside? So the way that you're going to remember to do, or to label this correctly, is where I'm going to do 750 square tiles. There's also another way that you can label this that I will accept, because usually this is acceptable whenever you get into algebra. It's very common to be able to abbreviate SQ as square. You can do that, or you could also do 750 tiles. And whenever we square something, you can put a little 2 above. So I will accept that also if you have tiles squared, or whatever the unit is. So if it's just feet squared, centimeters squared, inches squared, miles squared, you just put a little 2 above it. That would show squared. So I don't know how much you can read it. That actually does look very tiny, but it isn't also very big either. So I'll make it a little bit bigger. Tiles squared. So either of these forms of labeling will be correct. So again, you just multiply one side times the other side to find how much you have in between, just like when you have like a multiplication table, where I'm trying to figure out how many desks are in a row, or in a whole classroom, is you're going to find the columns and you're going to find the rows and how many in between. So example 2, how many square inches are needed to cover the area? I have 3 inches as my length, and I have 2 inches as my width. So I'm simply going to multiply again. Go ahead and try this and label it correctly on your own, and we'll see if you're correct. 3 times 2, I know right off the top of my head that it is 6. So 6, and the labeling I'm going to do is it can be 6 inches squared with a little 2, or you can write it as 6 SQ abbreviated for square, and then inches. So whichever form you did it in is correct. Example 3, this one is with estimating, and again, remember whenever we estimate before we solve the problem. You're not going to estimate your answer, that would be rounding. We are going to estimate, so we're going to basically round before we solve the problem, or before we multiply. Estimate the area of a room that is 14 feet and 3 inches long and 12 feet 8 inches wide. I want you to go ahead and try to see if you can do this by yourself first. 14 feet 3 inches rounds to 14 feet because 3 inches is not real big. So I have 14 feet and 12 feet 18 inches wide, and 12 feet 8 inches is very close to 13 feet. So I have 14 feet and I have 13 feet. Well, I'm going to need to move this because this one will take a little bit more room. 14 feet times 13 feet. I'm going to multiply these two together. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1 is 1 plus, or 3, sorry, plus 1 is 4. Now I'm multiplying by my tens place, so I put down my 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. Add them together. There's 2, 8, and 1. So 182, and I'm going to label it feet squared, or I can write it as 182 SQ for square and feet. Again, I will accept both. So knowing that, in those problems, you can easily go ahead and do the practice set. You're just finding the area of each one, A, B, C, and D. Be sure to label it correctly, and I'll be checking your answers in class. Thank you very much.